Most gym owners launch new programs because they are bored, not because their business needs it, and they call it innovation, but it's actually avoidance. So, Fern, what do you mean most new offers are just avoidance?
I would like to lead this discussion with I believe every entrepreneur, regardless of business, falls prey to this at some point.
100%. You've done it. I've done it. We've done it together, but we've both drastically improved.
Yeah, I think there's two reasons that specifically in a CrossFit space, and we've talked about this kind of in a roundabout way in other podcasts, but this podcast is specifically devoted to how do you we're going to give you a framework on how to make this decision, but how do you go about making that decision? And I think it fundamentally first starts with understanding like why people make that decision. Like what is at the root cause of the error? And I think part of it is, yes, part of it is boredom, right? Like this is the whole like what do I do with my hands scenario. We've had this conversation with many box owners who after we get everything in order, they start to get ants in their pants because nothing's on fire, right? I've talked about this before. One of the very odd things about being an entrepreneur is because when you start a business from nothing, it's pure chaos all the time. It's highly reactive, it's highly volatile, and then what happens is we never get out of that phase. We just continue going through the fire drill over and over and over. And then once things start to settle, what can happen very often is because nothing is wrong, we feel like we have to go do something else. You're like, hey, you know what I'm going to do because everything's going well? I'm going to go break shit. Right. And I've done that. But I think is recognizing that like your boredom is not a bad thing. Right. Why are you bored? And then the second piece to this is usually there's a root cause in the boredom, but it's usually more rooted in the second piece, which is they're not getting what they want out of the core thing, meaning like they're not bringing enough revenue. So it's boredom in combination with the desire to create more revenue. Now, I'm all about more revenue. This whole podcast is about building an affiliate that gives you what you want, which is, you know, uh, a piece of that is revenue and profit. Like the business is not sustainable if it's gratuitous, right? That's not how it works, right? You got to make money. And but how do you go about doing that becomes the real question. And where we see people get the shiny object syndrome is where things start to fall apart because you only have limited resources. And not understanding how to allocate resources is a real problem if you're the person in charge.
Yeah, I think you and I have seen it time and time again with affiliate U clients. They get to this point where the gym is doing the thing they envision, and they're like, now what? And often, well, one, there are things you can be working on, but it's also just like sometimes there's a point in time where it's like chill and enjoy. Like you've worked so hard for this. Now it's time to, you know, reap what you've sowed.
Here's, I think, a helpful framework for people to think about this through. In my mind, I think there's two versions of better. I think version number one is more, and we'll put this in a training context as well so people grasp it a little bit better. And then two is easier, right? So if I'm thinking about, I can either, we can use something very basic like a deadlift. I can either put more weight on the bar and I can lift more weight, and that would be a variation of better, or I can lift that same weight, but it's a lot easier for me, like using Fran. Like I can do a faster time, but there's pretty significant argument that let's just say that your Fran time is 3 minutes, right? It's fast, right? Not the world's fastest time, but like you got plenty of fitness if you're doing a 3 minute Fran. Well, what would be better than that? Yes, you could go a little bit faster, or being able to do Fran and then be able to have a full blown conversation when you're done. Both of those are better, meaning like I did the exact same time and it was, significantly less biological output if you want to kind of go back to the level one for me to accomplish the same task, right? It was just more efficient. And I think people overlook the kind of easier version of better. And I think there are seasons when you need to settle in and really do easier versus do more. Because easier will key you into, am I prepared to do more? Right? Like if you can't do a 3 minute Fran without, vomiting all over yourself and shitting your pants, like you don't need to try to go faster, right? You need to be more efficient with your movement and then do a really crisp 3 minute Fran. Now you can go faster. And it's no different in business. If you want to increase revenue or, serve more clients, then first is like make the current number really easy, meaning like operate. If anybody car nuts out there or just into racing and stuff like that, same speed, less RPMs, right? And sometimes you'll do that for a year, which is like if we could put last year, let's just say that we're recording this in 2025. If I could take 2024 and then flip it over into 2025, and it costs me half as much energy to run the exact same thing, that is a really nice version of better because now I know for sure that I have the required additional bandwidth to go pursue something else. And it might not be a new thing, it might just be more of the current thing. So, and many gym owners will do this. Be like, hey, I'm thinking about spinning up whatever, insert whatever program you want. Doesn't even matter what it is. I got no beef with any programs, but like, first question is like, why do you think you need to go do that? Was it the random one person that asked you for it? Or are you looking at revenue numbers and you're like, okay, well, I need to go capture more revenue somewhere else? I'm like, okay, well, you could do that a lot of ways, right? Do you need to go spin up a whole new program in order to do that? And are you overlooking the risks, the requirements, the upside and the downside of doing that? And I don't think enough people do that. And for me, I did it many times because I literally had no framework to do it. I was just operating and I was like, well, if I just go do that, it'll be more money. And I'm like, maybe, maybe not.
So let's talk about it because, like you said, for a lot of people, they think it's going to be more money, or they just it's different than training to some degree. You bring up Fran, right? And it's like pretty obvious that a 3 minute Fran feels like when it's good and bad, right? Like you walking it off versus not. It's objective. Like I'm laying in a pile of DNA versus I'm talking to my buddies because it was more efficient. So let's think about it now from the context of, why does this matter? And decision fatigue and why owners keep adding complexity instead of fixing the fundamentals. Because you're saying, hey, you're at a point in time where things are smooth, but rather than now adding more, going back and actually making things better. So before adding anything, asking yourself, is what I'm doing here is the main thing dialed in? How's my retention? How's my margin? What's my time look like? Am I paying myself? All of those things. So when should someone add more? When should they go back and look at what they're doing? When should they just like be like, I'm gonna chill?
Well, the chill thing is that's personal, right? Like at some point you're like, I'm good, I'm happy. This is giving me everything that I want out of it. But typically, if we're talking about this scenario, that's not the case, right? Now, I think one way, one of the other fundamental reasons people do this is because they don't know what to do. So they're like, well, I'll just go do something else. Like I don't know how to fundamentally get more out of my current thing, so I'll go do something new, right? And that's fine. That's actually how it works, by the way. You get to a certain point, you don't know how to do more than that. So instead of figuring out how to do more of that thing, you could go do something else because it seems easier to start something new. It's also super enticing because new shit is fun. Redesigning your current thing is not fun, right? It's
Well, and that
boring, it's tedious,
using
and
your
it's hard to see the
analogy,
return.
let's use your analogy, right? It'd be like, I want to get my friend again better or more efficient. Cool, let's work on the quarter extremity piece of your thruster versus like, no, let's just do heavy thrusters.
Right. It's just like, hey, your butterfly pull-ups are a hot mess, right? You physically can do them, but like they're wildly inefficient.
Right.
Is like if
One,
you just clean those up, you would have a tremendous amount of energy to go back to the barbell and that will be easier for you. But you don't want to do work on your butterfly pull-ups because in air quotes, you've got them,
right.
right? Well, I'm like, well, yes, you do possess the capacity to do that. But again, it's energy expenditure and it's no different in the business. It's energy expenditure, but it also, that energy turns into time and money that you probably don't have in that scenario. So this whole concept can be, and I've talked about this before and we've done videos on it, but this comes up regularly. And I just, again, I think it helps to kind of revisit these topics because even if you heard it once, you probably still get stung by the good idea again. And it's thinking about like, how do I make a decision about like, do I sell new things or do I create a new product to sell to a new market, right? That's really what it is, right? So, and this is classically described as what's called a BCG matrix, which comes from the Boston Consulting Group. But this was designed off of a gentleman named I forget his first name, but Ansoff, and it's basically like a risk assessment matrix. It says like, hey, how how do I determine in what direction I'm going to move or what block on this grid I'm going to put my time and attention.
So you talk matrix, so let's maybe we can have a link in the notes too to something they can download. I don't know.
Here, yeah, we can put it up there, but like let me pull it up here real quick. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so this is a basic BCG matrix, right? So BCG matrix is a 2 by 2 and this is pulled out from a presentation I did a while ago, but essentially, like what you're looking at is like everybody here this is essentially quadrant 3, right? Where it says market penetration. R&D is up here in quadrant 1. The thing about R&D is like things that fall into that bucket are super long development cycles and high capital investment. So think about like this is like if you're thinking outside of the fitness space, like this is pharmaceuticals and tech fall squarely in R&D. Okay. Now, in the CrossFit world, what R&D would be like, you're going to go spin off a whole new lifestyle brand. You're going to start a coffee company and you're going to do apparel and stuff like that. Well, that's a long development cycle to figure out what the coffee company is going to be, like what's your blend going to be, how are you going to sell it, all this other kind of like who's your market going to be, all that kind of stuff. At which point I'm like, do you have that time? Do you have that money? But that's crazy high risk in those scenarios. And if you look at market analysis on products and endeavors that fall into that quadrant, insanely high failure rate. Now, people go to that quadrant because if you get it right, the return is wild. Okay. So that's the enticing part about it. We're not in there. So I typically tell people, I'm like, don't go do any of that shit. Like, now, what would this look like? You're going to start an apparel business. You're going to start doing, fitness retreats and shit like that. Like, the if you were going to do this in our space, in order to even remotely have an opportunity to be successful here, you would need to have a huge following, meaning like a massive captive audience that would follow you to the new endeavor, right? So people that can do this are people like Proven, Mayhem, any of those larger brands that are not solely restricted to brick and mortar, meaning they're going to have a massive virtual following. And even those guys have tremendous risk by going into this quadrant. Now, new markets, that would be described as like an entirely new demographic of people that are not aware of your thing and are not currently buying it. Right. So this in the context of a CrossFit affiliate, this would be like corporate wellness programs. Okay. New services is just selling them more stuff. So if you want to think new markets, this is new wallets. If you want to think new services, this is bigger wallets, right? So more dollars out of the same subset of people as new services, and then completely new wallets if I'm going to go to new markets. So just seeing the matrix and understanding like A, R&D is crazy high risk. You should just not go there. And understanding like, okay, well, if it's risk to move in any direction, not that there is not always risk in all of these, like how do I determine how I'm going to move to those different quadrants? And that's the part that I don't think people do the assessment on, because when you run the assessment, in most instances, you either don't have the requisite skills, information, um, or necessarily customer base to support moving in one of those directions.
Do you remember what presentation that was from?
It was from the games 2 years ago.
All right, well, let's try to link that in the show notes so people can
Yeah,
watch the full
yeah.
presentation, 'cause that's really great, and you go a lot deeper into it. But I agree. So we have the four quadrants. So we talk, like you said, market penetration. How do I get more members through the door for CrossFit or PT, right? So you're essentially saying, how do I continue to penetrate this same market?
Yeah, how do I basically get more customers? And again, this is at the root cause of why people would move to one of the other markets, right? Or sorry,
Right.
one of the
So,
other quadrants, right?
but you can continue to grow as you crack that code.
Yeah, so in an ideal scenario, if we look at if so let's go to new markets, right? So let's say I'm going to go to new markets, I want to do corporate wellness, or I want to start spinning up a kids program or something along those lines. In order to be successful moving in that direction, you need to have a very strong grasp and a really good track record for execution in sales and marketing, meaning like I sell really well and I know how to market like a motherfucker. Because if I'm going to go to an entirely new market to sell my thing that's not aware of it, that's not currently borrowing it, the obvious two things that you would need to be good at in order to do that would be like, I need to market really well and I need to be really good at sales.
That's
That's it.
for market development,
No, no,
not
that's for
market.
new markets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
same
yeah,
markets,
new
right?
markets.
But we've got market penetration, which is where we should be. We've
That's
got
where you are
product,
currently,
right? We've got product development where you said, and this is for CrossFit. It's
right?
like, hey,
Nutrition.
we're doing yoga, we're doing
Additional
nutrition,
programming, right? Like this is
6 week
other stuff.
challenge.
Yeah, the things that would fall in the new products or services would be like things that my existing customer base probably already purchases, maybe just not from me, right? So they might be getting additional programming from somewhere. They might be getting nutrition coaching from somewhere. Now, the issue with moving there is in a lot of instances, what we see is people don't have the personnel to run those programs. They're like, well, I'm just going to run the program over there. And it's
Right. Not
just
only that, or they don't even try that, but they're not excited about it. They're not good at it, right?
all of those things.
Right.
And it's just like, well, who's going to run the program? They're like, well, I'm going to run it. I'm like, well, do you like doing whatever, PT or
Right. Do you
programming?
like
They're like,
working with kids? Like kids is often a good one, right? Like,
yeah.
um, cool. So
So,
we got
but the requirement to do that is, and this is people overlook this, if I'm going to effectively have a customer base and then sell them more stuff, in order for me to be successful in that exercise, I need to have really, really great retention and really high customer satisfaction. You're not going to sell more things to people that are currently
unhappy.
unhappy or indifferent to your current offering.
Right. That's like I went out to dinner. Hey, to the waiter, this meal was terrible. Cool. Can I offer you dessert?
And
It's
you're
like,
like,
no,
no,
the
I want to
food
get out
was,
of here.
yeah. And also, I mean, I think to deep in what you're saying, it's like I think there's a limit too, right? Because with this, you're saying I'm gonna try to bring in more revenue with the same number of people. At some point, that's finite. Like people will only spend so much at your gym, right?
Now they will spend more than you think if they're
For
happy and
sure,
really good at the thing.
for sure. But at some point, going back to market penetration, it's like, or we can get more people, which by the way, if we improve the product development, we continue to sell more things to more people. But ultimately, you need to be doing the thing good. And this is
Right.
your initial point of you're doing a bad job, so you need more money. So you think this is the solution, when in fact the solution is doing better at the thing.
Which is not sexy or fun or even
I'd argue,
remotely
yeah.
remotely it's not it's like very uncomfortable to come to that realization.
Well, I've heard this story, right, where it's like, assuming you opened a gym or you're an entrepreneur, you took a risk in your life and you're like, I'm going to deviate from this normal plan of 9 to 5 and all the things. And most of us have gotten rewarded from that pivot and deviation. But then we think that was the what we should continue to do. But it's like, no, one time, now get really good at that thing,
Yes.
which maybe in the future you can do it again. But for now,
No, not only maybe, you absolutely could, but then the question becomes, do you want to, right? So the real crux of this is, so let's just say that um you want to go to new markets. right? Let's say I want to sell a corporate wellness and kids programs and all this other stuff. Well, this is how you would know if this is a good idea or not. If you currently struggle to have consistent lead flow and sales in your business, what this is highlighting is that there is a lack of skill set. And again, I'm not pointing fingers at everybody, like fucking everybody goes through this, dude. Is like, well, I don't know how to get new clients. I don't know how to get more of the current people that I already serve. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, then the solution is not go to a completely unknown market and try to sell over there, right? Like that literally makes no sense.
CrossFitters, I've purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment in my life. I've been doing CrossFit since 2007. I've owned 4 affiliates. I currently own an affiliate in my basement. And let me tell you this, Rep Fitness is by far my favorite equipment. First of all, it's amazing quality. The price is right. And what I love is I talk to somebody that I know, that knows me, and that understands my needs. Now, cool thing is, as a family member of Best Hour, you can save big over at Rep Fitness. Go to repfitness.com/best hour and save on your next equipment purchase.
If you are struggling trying to figure out what is the best way to grow your affiliate, this is what we do day in and day out with hundreds of affiliates all over the world. We've worked with more than 1,000 affiliates, and our whole goal is to make you guys smarter affiliate owners, right? You want the right information so that you can make the right decision at the right time so that you can maximize your impact on your clients. If that's something you're interested in, click the link somewhere around this video and set up a call. But if you stay in that quadrant, which is market penetration, and you fucking really dial in your marketing and sales, you're going to develop a whole new set of skills that will allow you to have a higher likelihood for success in the event that you want to go to a new market, which is like corporate wellness or kids or whatever. Because you're like, oh, we know how to sell, we know how to communicate, we know who our ideal target audience is, we know how to write copy for a bunch of this stuff, we know how to email market, we know how to build the appropriate funnels in order to nurture people in these sequences. Well, if you don't know how to do that, you're just going to move over there. You might have a flash in the pan where you get good takers on some of these offers, and then it will fizzle out because you will have not figured out how to continue to market. So it's like I was deficient in a skill. That skill is mandatory to move to a new segment. And now I'm doing two things poorly. And what I've done is I've divided my time. And dude, every single time this has happened to me and that we see it, what happens is the main thing suffers and it exacerbates the problem. So they're like, well, I need more money now. So I got to do more markets and more new shit. And it's like, no, 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 no. The answer is the thing where you started, which is avoidance, which is you got to go back and fix the thing.
And and this is the analogy of like you're just going to keep getting to the same level. Like at some point, you're not going to be able to beat that boss, no matter how many times you pivot. Where what you're suggesting is stop and learn and get better. And now, if and when you do pivot, you're going to have new skills acquired.
Yeah,
So,
you've fundamentally not solved the root problem is really what it comes down to is just like, hey, you have a problem in order to, and instead of solving that problem, I went to try to go do something else in the hopes that it would relieve my pain point. And it's not how it works. Right? Like this is how businesses basically like spread themselves too thin and they start doing too many things and all of a sudden they can't figure out like why certain things start to fizzle out and it's because well they were all very mediocre. And anytime we've done this with affiliates and we've done it many many times is like hone in on the hone in on the main thing and the solution is better marketing, better referral programs, better service delivery. That's what the solution is. Because if I said because usually the question is like how much we'll make up a number, how much more revenue do you need? And like, well, I'd want to make this much more money. And I'm like, okay, do you think we should spin up a new program or do you think we should focus our efforts on getting 15 new clients over the next 4 months?
right.
Because that scales, by the way.
Yeah.
The other one it comes with a tremendous amount of risk, additional resources, depending on what the program is. I mean, that's another person, right? It's another set of processes and systems. It's more to manage. And again, I'm all for you growing an affiliate, but doing things out of order is really risky. And your business already has enough risk in it, right? Like running a business is inherently risky. You don't need to make it more risky. And the whole purpose of doing this is trying to pull people back just a little bit and just do an assessment and be like, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. What I'm likely saying is not right now. Or you're not ready. You're not ready to put that weight on the bar. Like you can load that bar up and you're going to get smashed like a soft taco at the bottom of that squat because you weren't ready. Right.
Mm.
And it's like, just pump the brakes on that. And the analogy that I gave is like what the matrix really starts to extract from the whole thing is it really starts to highlight what is the number one risk in your business. And the answer is it is you. This is every business ever. The person in charge is the greatest risk factor to the business. It's not markets, it's not competitors, it is the person making decisions every single time. Right. And we could go through endless analogies of this in our space. It's just like, but understanding like the worst shit that has ever happened to me at CrossFit Rife is 100% my fault. It wasn't like somebody came in and like ruined the business. It was me being a dumbass.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about three non-negotiables. You kind of mentioned, improve at marketing, improve at sales, etc. But there's other filters you should be looking at before, if you are thinking, I need to. I listen to Fern, I hear you, but I should add things. So, what are three must-haves before you add a product or try to break into a new market?
You got to have good margins, number one, meaning like you that the financially things should be from an outside perspective look strong on the financial side.
And time.
Well, kind of this, yeah, kind of the same, right? But
But
so
meaning you can't be working 24 hours a day and saying I'm making a lot of
yeah,
money
you
because
can't be
you're only
coaching all the classes and strapped for time and have no bandwidth to do other things and then add another thing in on top of that. It's just not gonna you can't do more with less. Um, you need to have good data, right? Like you need to know the numbers, and we beat this drum to death, which is like you need to know what's going on there. Um, Now from a customer base, what you need to have is you need to have really good retention in both of these scenarios, right? Like just going back to a previous podcast, is like strong delivery is a really good indicator of being able to even have the conversation about moving in one of those two directions. It's just like strong delivery, meaning like, hey, my churn is, consistently below 5%. It's actually below 4%. And we have a steady growth rate of net three, and our profit margins, net profit margins are holding strong at like, call it, 17 to 25%. I'm like, okay, that means there's some capacity here, right? That means things are going well, that we've kind of cracked the code on a handful of things. But if we can't answer any of that stuff, that means that you're going to spin up another business that you will then have less, you'll continue to have no information on. And then the last thing was be like, you need to have good processes and systems because you're going to add more moving parts into the machine, at which point 100% shit's going to break.
Mhm.
Anytime you change something, shit breaks. It just happened to us in Best Hour. We switched scheduling platforms. Yesterday was a hot mess, dude. People were like fucking rebooking calls all over the place. Nobody's immune to it. And that, like, being as transparent as I possibly could. Like, when you change something, shit will break. It's not like a if it will break. It's an absolutely going to break. The question is like, how bad is it going to break, and what is that going to mean to me in the way of time and or money?
Yeah, and I think again, going back to the main point, none of this is sexy, but it's something our clients do exceptionally well. I'm always excited when we're giving a presentation, we're at an event, and someone asks about data, and our clients are like, I know what my retention is, I know what my churn is. If you're an affiliate owner watching this and you don't know those things, it's just a further indication that, hey, this is not the thing for you. Like, meaning don't add more, like improve at those things. And it's interesting because affiliate owners will be the first to tell you, like, track your nutrition, track your workouts, because how else are we going to tell if you're improving? But then you're not tracking your metrics. So we cannot tell if your box, and no different than how many times like, I need more, a client says to you. It's like, well, how many grams of protein did you eat? Or what's your Fran time? Like, I don't know. It's like, you don't need more because we don't even know what you're doing.
You have no baseline to make an assessment because the reality is like if we did the full exercise and when we went and pulled all of that data, all of the information, we went and pulled, you know, everything that we possibly could with regard to any one of these scenarios, undoubtedly the data would say do not proceed. It would say your problem is right there, fix that problem, and then you'll start moving in the right direction and trending in the direction you want to go. And again, like it's not sexy. Being good at business, at least in my experience and people that I look up to and that I mentors of mine that I talk to on a regular basis, like, dude, master the mundane. Do the boring shit is how you get good at business. Where most of it is not fun or exciting. Like it is immense amounts of boredom with flashes of excitement.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And growth is not about adding more, it's about getting more from what you already do. So let me ask you one final question. And that is, what's one question every gym owner should ask themselves before they say yes to a new idea?
What do I not know?
Hmm. So go further into that. What do you mean?
Well, this is I don't know when this is going to come out, but this is kind of at the root of the talk that I'm giving at the games. But that I think that single question is really enlightening, meaning what do you not know about what? I mean, about that product, about selling it, about your own business. How are you objectively making this decision? I'll give Joe from CrossFit Spring Hill. We may have talked about this before, but when they wanted to expand.
Is he only client of ours that's beat you? He's
Well,
official.
and I was very happy that he beat me because it wasn't about winning, right? For me, it was like it wasn't about like me being right or wrong. I was like, I don't care, dude. But you've not done the requisite homework and the due diligence to make sure that you understand what needs to happen here. Because I'm like, listen, if you expand and it fails, you know what happens to me? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Fucking nothing happens to me. But you need to know what that looks like. You need to know what the risks are. You need to know, with good confidence, like, hey, my, the the percentage of me like succeeding or failing is about this based on all of these factors and my plan and what I'm going to do. And when he and I went back and forth for months over that, at the end, when he got to the end, I was just like, he had laid everything out. He was like, he all the finances, the profit margins, the additional costs, like how long it was going to take, what the growth rate needed to be, how they were going to sell it. And I was like, yeah, sounds like you should expand. It sounds like you have a
Well,
good hold on that project. And he beat the targets, by the way. They beat him by like
oh,
60 days.
crushed. This is
Well,
like
but they
2
beat
years
where they
ago
wanted
now.
to
Yeah.
be by like they beat it by like 2 months when they did that to get exactly back to where they were going to be from a margin standpoint when increasing their rent by 50%. And that was what I wanted him to do. That it wasn't about me saying no, you shouldn't do that. It was about me being like, you don't have the right information to make an informed decision. That's what you need to be asking yourself. Like, what do I not know? What information would I be lacking in this decision that would blow up in my face? That's what you need to know. That's what you need to start asking yourself and be like, what do I not know? And then you go on the Easter egg hunt of all Easter egg hunts because you're probably going to realize that you don't know a half a dozen things about making this decision. And you're not going to know where even to start or where to find some of that information or how to calculate it or what it would mean if you did have it. And start there. And that alone should tell you be like, "Oh, I'm getting ready to make this leap without having really understanding like what it entails or how it could go right or wrong or how it would measure failure or success and all that kind of stuff," which is again how it works. And then it's like, okay, how about we just reallocate all that time and energy and resources back to like improving the core thing? But the return on that investment is exponential.
Yeah, and what you're also saying to some degree is like these decisions should be objective, where many affiliate owners, it's like, I want to expand, and while you can have the data to support decisions, yes or no, it's also nice to have a coach who, like you said, I'm fine. I'm only trying to set you up for success, right? Like if you do this and I tell you not to, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow the same. You're the one whose gym is in trouble. So let's make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. And that's what a good coach should do. And that's why if you're an affiliate owner, you need help, you need mentorship because we've helped thousands do this. We continue to, and you need to make sure the decisions you're making are the right decisions. And it's nice to have a different set of eyeballs on them and eyeballs from someone that's done this thousands of times.
Yeah, the I think it's just kind of number one, acknowledging that, listen, if you are a true blue entrepreneur, like shiny object syndrome is probably baked into your DNA, right? So like the stuff that you get distracted by, it's perfectly normal. One of the skill sets that I think all good entrepreneurs have to master is the skill of focus, which is like, I'm not going to do that other thing. I'm going to go back to doing what I'm fucking supposed to be doing, which is, oh, my coaches are not running classes the way they should be. Like, we're a little bit sloppy in the sales pipeline. Our retention is fluctuates a bit more than it should. I don't even really know what my actual length of engagement is because based on the fact that I've had, switched CRMs twice over the past 15 years, and I've had people here for 10 plus years, that data is skewed. And I'm not even really sure what phase of, my client's life cycle they're at most at highest risk. I'm like, I don't, were you on? No, you weren't on this call. I did this a couple months ago in one of our gym mayor calls. And I went in because we've been on Wodify for, I don't know, probably 10 years, a long time. And we've been on there long enough that there's some components of the metrics that you look in there that are misleading. So, for instance, if you I've had people that have been here for 16 years, and I had tons of people that have been here plus than more than 10. So let's just say I switched over at 10 years ago. That means I have a decent chunk of people that have been here for 10 years. So I'm going to make this over exaggerated, but like, let's say I have two clients. One of them has been here 10 years and one of them has been here 1 year. Average length of engagement is now 5 years, but that's misleading because one of them's only been here for a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I did was I drilled down and said, okay, well then what would be like my biggest problem? So it wasn't looking at overall length of engagement. I was like, I want to drill in. It's like, let me look at everybody that's canceled in the past 12 months that's been here for less than 12 months. Just knowing that
Yeah.
number, right? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's going to be my people that are at risk. So I'm like, okay, the number is like, I forget what it was. Um, I knew remember what the length, but when I basically extracted that subset of people, what I found was like, oh, the length of engagement for that subset of people, which is by definition my problem set to solve for, was 5.4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I said, okay, well, let me figure out how to solve that because running the math, if I extend that group, just that cohort of people from 5.4 to 9
You stay
months,
for 10 years.
well, just forget that part. Just like, what does that mean for the business? Like hard numbers.
Right. 3 months on all these people, even
It
if they
was it
left
was
at that point.
almost it was almost $70,000 of top line revenue kept by simply getting that cohort of people to stay for an additional 3.5 months.
Right.
So it comes back to like, hey, where is your time and energy best served? It's probably not mathematically by spinning up a new program. It is
Right. No,
probably looking into those numbers and be like, hey, do you think you could just extend these people by 3 months by looking at when and how you're engaging with them and making sure that you're checking in appropriately? Would that be worth $70,000 to you? Probably.
no amount of high rocks programming is going to bring 70 grand in next year.
That's my point, right? So then it goes back to like, what don't you know? And I didn't know that, right? I thought that was
You
probably
had
the
a
case.
suspicion, but only because you've done this.
Right.
I mean, you're so unique in the sense that
But I still hadn't quantified it. And when I quantified it, I was like,
Okay.
God damn, that is a fucking serious number, dude. I'm like, that's a crazy lever. I would spend months working on that problem to get
And it's for 70
$70,000.
grand of top
70
line
grand.
revenue. Like, I mean, that's like all margin.
Right.
Let me ask you a unique question. Has there been anything since we've started this thing 6 years ago that you've helped a client with that you then went back and looked at your numbers and made a change, good or bad?
Ooh. Uh, for sure. I'm probably there.
Yeah, I
I have
mean,
no
but I'm
doubt there
wondering,
is. I'm trying to think off the top of my
or
head.
just like if you, because my thought is like you give this advice to Mitch. Hey, Mitch, have you
Right.
looked at how long the average like the person stays if they're not 12 months, etc. Wait, maybe I should do that too. Now, now you know these things, but I'm assuming, especially back at the beginning, it was like, oh, I should probably do that.
I think probably one that sticks out to me is, and maybe it wasn't in that exact order, but it sprung from the question, which is what do I not know?
Hmm.
And when you start to ask yourself that question, it inherently starts to remove certain things off of the board that you had like ideas, because like let's say that the overall outcome that you're looking for is a revenue number or a growth number. Okay. Well, I would need to know something about what that would look like in order to get there. So like lead need is something that I like almost like, dropped a 400-pound weight on my foot when I was like, how have I never figured out what the exact number is for lead need, right? Everybody's like, I need more leads. I'm like, it's a number, dude. Like it's not more. It's a mathematical equation, and the number's like 6 or whatever it's going to be for you. And I like went in and ran that calculation, and or I no, I had to go in and figure out like what would the calculation be because I couldn't find anywhere. I was like, how do you determine what that is? Like I don't. And as I was playing around with it, because I played around with it for a couple of days, just like doodling on the whiteboard, and I was like, oh, it's just 3 times your churn,
Hmm.
right? So then you do a couple of calculations on this, and this for somebody who's like, I'm going to do nutrition because I want to make more money. I'm like, well, first figure out like what's your lead need because that might be an easier solution for you to get to the revenue number that you want to get to. It highly likely is. So there's one assumption you have to make in that equation, and it is that you can close at 50%, which most of CrossFit affiliates can do, right? Meaning, like, of the leads that come in, 50% of them I'm going to be able to sell to. So, what you do is just say, let's just use easy math and say you have 100 clients and you churn at 5%. That means 5 people are canceling every single month. That means that your lead need in order to beat that churn is 15, meaning like if I want to beat a 5% churn, I need 15 leads per month, closing at 50%, meaning I'm going to get 7 new clients every single month. So I'm going to grow by 2.5 people on average on a long enough time frame. When you look at it and you say, well, if I need 15, the question now becomes, how many am I currently getting? And you're like, you look at it and you're like, well, I'm getting 12. So then like, okay, so then you need to figure out how to generate 3 more leads per month. Right. And you can come up with all sorts of solutions how to do that, like fix your website, you know, run bring a friend week more frequently, ask every person for a referral. Like all of these, the answer is all of them. But the number's 3, right? It's not more, it's 3. So it comes back to like, what do I not know about this problem set that I'm dealing with? And all of a sudden, many things start to come to light, at which point you start asking better questions. And I think, you know, what's the saying? I don't remember what the percentage is. Like 80% of getting to a solution is like asking a good question.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, let me ask a better question than I'm currently asking, which is like, how do I get more leads? Which is how do I get 3 more leads per month? That's a very specific question that lends itself to very specific action items and very specific outcomes, which has nothing to do with spinning up an entire new program. So then the question becomes, should I just figure out how to get 3 more leads or should I spin up a new program? At which point it seems like a silly like decision to make. You're like, that's a dumb question. Why would I go do that?
Asking better questions. Rarely the wrong answer. So again, if someone's interested in learning more, we have a free 2 week trial. We take a limited number of people every month, and we can help you figure out what questions you should be asking and where we can make some tweaks to the levers to increase revenue, decrease the amount of time you're working, all the things. So click the link around this video for that, and we will continue to be providing affiliate owners the best of the best information out there.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.